The coronavirus pandemic has the American economy on its knees, but things are even more dire for workers of color. Not only are black and brown workers overrepresented in industries bearing the brunt of layoffs, such as food service, black and Hispanic workers are also overrepresented in high-risk and currently critical occupations. Black people make up about 13% of Americans, but 42% of postal processors, 27% of home health aides, and 27% of bus drivers. And while Hispanics account for 18% of the population, 31% of all custodial workers are Hispanic, as well as 39% of food processing workers and 30% of garbage collectors. Joining me now to discuss this pandemic's impact on workers of color, Janelle Ross, a reporter for NBC News, and Larry Ivory, chairman of the National Black Chamber of Commerce. Janelle, it is clear that blacks and browns are in the most vulnerable positions in terms of the work they do, and that we are in the industries that are going to be impacted by the economics of this. How do we deal with this when we already come into this in a good economy before the pandemic hits, doubly unemployed, and getting sometimes having the worst of difficulties in getting home loans, mortgages, and small business loans?
Well, I think there is no question that many workers of color enter this situation in a much more vulnerable position. I would add to your list the fact that workers of color are more likely to be uninsured. In some of the lowest wage occupations in our country, only 10% of the workforce has health insurance. You have much higher rates of uninsurance among people of color. So there are real issues. What you can do about them, the individual, this is truly beyond the individual's control. I don't think anybody can question that. I think that obviously people are going to have to try to avail themselves of the unemployment insurance options that have been made available. There are some real challenges in terms of the relief package. For instance, you need to have a bank account in order to receive the relief funds that are supposed to be made available as quickly as possible. And again, workers of color are overrepresented among those who do not have bank accounts. So there are some real challenges here.
Larry, with the Black Chamber of Commerce, I'm sure you're concerned about what that will mean to black businesses and brown businesses, those that have small businesses that have had to struggle to even get bank loans, get financing, those that are homeowners that have had to deal with mortgage discrimination. What should we be pressuring as we deal with the first stage now of a stimulus bill? And as Congresswoman Bass has said on this show, there's more than likely going to be a second one. What should we be pressing the Congress and industry to do to deal with those that have disproportionate impact in this pandemic because they had it even before that?
Absolutely. You know, I think Dr. King said it best: of the good things in life, the black man has a small portion. Of the bad things in life, we have a double portion. You know, when it comes to black businesses across the United States, it's clear to us that we have some significant challenges. When you take a look at the industries that you're talking about, restaurants owners, business owners, retail, and all those areas, we're struggling, and black businesses need a lifeline. What we need to make sure of, you know, just recently we were talking about the U.S. Department of Labor. They had suspended all affirmative action in terms of procurement and job placement. That's a big concern to us. We got to make sure, as this economic stimulus money comes out, and when we talk about the amount of money that they're talking about, Reverend, you know, $377 billion sounds like a lot of money. But if you put that in perspective, that 90% of all businesses, approximately over 90% of all businesses are small businesses, that's not significant. There needs to be a much more significant investment into small businesses, and we need to make sure it gets in the hands of our people, because what happens is we get the information late. There's time-sensitive things dealing with how you get the money, how to get the money, and when you don't get the money in time, you can be left out. And sometimes there's a pecking order based upon when you apply for the resources. If you're last on the list, even though you qualify, still may miss the opportunity. So what we need to do is make sure that whatever stimulus package is out now, which is out, that the next stimulus package, and we're going to have another stimulus package, we're going to have to make sure that businesses like the Chamber and others are in the loop and making sure that we're participating in terms of getting the information to our members and making sure they have access to take full advantage of the opportunity that exists there.
And we have to make sure that those opportunities are equally distributed. There must be focus on this, and there must be a coming together. It's an opportunity to heal, but it won't happen without some real focus. Janelle Ross and Larry Ivory, thank you both for being with me. Up next, my final thoughts.